Finishing The Untamed is a specific kind of grief. You have lived inside that world and that relationship for 50 episodes and suddenly it is over and nothing else feels like enough. This list exists for that exact moment. Every show here shares something with The Untamed: epic world building, a central relationship built on loyalty and restraint, sacrifice that actually costs something, or a mythology deep enough to get genuinely lost in. None of them are The Untamed. A few of them come close. The Untamed set a specific standard for fantasy epic C-drama, and the shows that followed it have been trying to meet it ever since. Here are the 10 that get closest, each for a different reason. Immortality is the closest direct equivalent to The Untamed's energy, and it is no coincidence that it is based on another novel by the same author. The story follows two men in a world of immortal cultivators as their fates become impossibly entangled. The darkness of the source material is handled with real weight, and the central relationship has the same quality of devotion communicated through action rather than declaration. It is shorter than The Untamed and slightly rougher in production, but for viewers who specifically want that emotional register, this is the most direct recommendation. Ancient love poetry shares with The Untamed its mythological scale and its willingness to let the story span enormous periods of time. The relationship between the two gods at its center develops across lifetimes in a way that gives every moment an accumulated weight. The production design is extraordinary, and the show has a patience with its own world building that The Untamed also possessed. If what you loved most about The Untamed was its sense of an ancient, vast world with its own internal logic, this is the show for you. Heavenly Sword and Dragon Slaying Sabre is a wuxia classic adapted multiple times, and the 2019 version is the best. The martial arts mythology is rich and internally consistent, the political dimensions of the story are genuinely complex, and the central romance develops against a backdrop of clan warfare and competing loyalties that gives it real stakes. For viewers who love the wuxia elements of The Untamed, specifically the cultivation world politics and the fighting, this delivers those elements at a very high level. Love and Redemption shares with The Untamed a story about two people who are cosmically connected in ways neither of them initially understands, and whose love costs them enormously before it can be freely given. The fantasy world is richly built and the central relationship develops with genuine patience. The male lead's devotion across multiple reversals of fate is the emotional spine of the show, and it is handled beautifully. The final arc delivers a payoff that rewards the 60 episodes of investment completely. Sword Snowstride is darker and more politically complex than The Untamed, but it shares the same quality of a richly constructed world with internal consistency and characters who feel genuinely embedded in it. The protagonist navigates a collapsing empire with the same kind of quiet intelligence that Wei Wuxian deployed in different circumstances. The male lead is magnetic and the supporting relationships are as carefully drawn as the central one. For viewers who want the political depth and world building without the romance focus, this is the recommendation. Word of Honor is the most direct spiritual successor to The Untamed central dynamic. Two former enemies forced into an unlikely alliance, a complicated world of martial arts factions and hidden identities, and a central relationship that develops through shared experience and mutual respect rather than grand declarations. The chemistry between the leads is exceptional, and the show has the same quality of a story that earns its emotional moments through patience. The fandom overlap between The Untamed and Word of Honor is almost complete for good reason. Ashes of Love shares with The Untamed its willingness to inflict genuine pain in service of a love story that means something. The mythology is dense and rewarding, the fantasy world is beautiful and internally logical, and the central romance is built on sacrifice that feels real rather than theatrical. What Ashes of Love adds that is distinct is a second male lead situation that generates its own devastating emotional arc. If you love The Untamed and you are ready to have your heart broken in a slightly different configuration, start here. The Legend of Fei is a wuxia adventure with a female lead as skilled and compelling as any male protagonist in the genre. The show has the Untamed sense of a hidden world of martial arts existing parallel to ordinary life, and the same quality of a central relationship that develops through shared danger and mutual respect. The action sequences are among the best produced in the genre, and the story has a pace and energy that makes it one of the most purely entertaining shows on this list. It is an excellent watch. Till the End of the Moon is the show that came closest to replicating The Untamed's impact on international audiences, and it shares the structural quality that made The Untamed so effective, a story that unfolds across time, with a central relationship that is both cosmically significant and deeply personal. The premise is different but the emotional grammar is similar, two people whose connection is stronger than the forces trying to separate them. The male lead's arc from darkness to devotion is executed with real skill, and the final episodes deliver at a level that justifies every hour of investment. Nirvana in Fire shares with The Untamed its most essential quality. It is a story about justice, loyalty, and the cost of doing what is right in a world that has decided wrong is convenient. The male lead of Nirvana in Fire, like Wei Wuxian, is a person the world has decided to discard who refuses to stay discarded. The scale is different, the genre is different, but the emotional core is the same. If what you loved about The Untamed was the sense of a protagonist who carries an enormous wrong and works for years to correct it, Nirvana in Fire is the deepest possible recommendation. The Untamed created a hunger for a very specific kind of storytelling, and Cdrama has been answering that hunger ever since. Every show on this list will give you something The Untamed gave you, and each will give you something else besides. Subscribe for ongoing coverage of the best in Chinese and Asian drama, because this community deserves a channel dedicated to taking it seriously.